So, what was like the day you guys met me?
It was a beautiful day.
Yeah. Was it?
In Guangzhou.
It was cold, right?
Not in Guangzhou.
Oh, right,
that was one of the, it was March. So we left Philadelphia, which was cold and nasty, and we went to Beijing, which was very cold. That's when we went to the Great Wall because they wanted us to understand a bit of Chinese culture and history, and then we went to Guangzhou.
It was warm. It's tropical.
And it was a beautiful day. Took a bus
with a big group of people
that we'd spent
a lot of time with, so we were
a few
kind
days
of,
with.
had this camaraderie. And we walked into the building. It was very electrically charged because all these people were going to be adopting a new baby.
Do you remember what was it, like a government building
It
or?
was a really pretty building, modern. And the room, we walked into a room and there was like a lot of couches. And the guy that ran our group had a piece of paper. And all of a sudden, we started seeing these caregivers walking. They were like in a line, kind of hidden a little bit, holding these babies. So we all kind of walked our way over to like look through the door. And we all could, just from a picture, we totally could recognize. And I did see you.
Well, you're on video saying, there she is, that's Scarlett. There was a lot of crying, as people ever walked upon it.
A lot of people, a lot of babies weren't, but some were, but you were already pretty hysterical. And then at that moment, because you were crying, it was like, let me hold her, she's crying, It was very emotional. And but we had to wait, and Juntel's like calling the names, and the people are walking up and
taking role in a classroom.
Yeah,
it was this very strange combination of very civilized, orderly, classroomy kind of a thing. And at the same time, this massive emotional event. Everybody from her orphanage had the same stripy sweater on. Am I remembering that? I remember her blue. Were they all dressed the same?
I think so, yes. And that was very striking because, previously in the orphanages, they didn't really have a lot of money. And so they kind of had to mishmash together. So you could tell they made a big effort for the children to look really nice and cute.
I think in our group, there were future parents or whatever waiting. There were multiple orphanages involved. So you didn't know, just because children had arrived, you didn't know if it was your group or not. We knew the name of your orphanage that you were coming from. But you spotted her outside in the hallway and you were being held by that guy who, I don't know if he was the bus driver or the orphanage director or whatever.
He didn't look like a caretaker, which, and I being judgy, he just didn't look like a nanny or something like that. He did look like he was an official or a bus driver. And, he is a man, but he was very kind of stoic. And
he tried. Didn't he get a tissue and tried to
so at that point, I was just like, please, just let me hold her, So finally, they called our name, and he went to hand you to us, and he saw that you were, like snot was coming out of your face, and so he pulled you back, which was really strange. And he wiped your nose, which I think was it was nice, but it was like, wait a minute, And then he handed you to us again. And if I ever was holding a crying baby, I would hand the baby back to the mother. I was like, here, take your baby. So I had never really tried to console a baby. Like that was my responsibility forever, and it was like, oh, and you were just inconsolable no matter what. It looks like maybe we were smiling, but it was quite nervous, not nervous like I was but it was like shaking us up that you were very inconsolable.
Plays strangely, and for the record, because there were different orphanages or groups of people, and our group was like 30 parents, right? Someone single. Well, everybody had somebody with them, right? Pretty much, like they would have you go with someone as a support because it's a lot of effort. So there were a lot of people in that room who were not
adoptive parents.
Were not and they weren't even involved in the group. So I handed the camera to somebody else.
Yeah, because we wanted
it was one of those old school things with the big screen, which is kind of easier because they just had to hold it and keep the thing and just point it. And that's why it's mostly on you. And then I come into the frame. And the whole vibe was very happy and upbeat. I mean, yes, the kids were crying and that was terrible. The kids crying.
You were pretty inconsolable. And as a baby in general, you were like that for a long time, kind of the inconsolable crier. You didn't suck your thumb like some kids did. You didn't put your hands in your mouth to calm yourself. You grabbed your hands and kind of hit your head. I mean, you were very like turned in. So it was hard. And because we had to get pictures taken of us, and the one picture we got taken of us, Daddy and I are holding you and you're just screaming, and that's a government picture.
That was the passport, I think.
And but then, and we had little toys trying to, and you didn't eat food. So you couldn't give you a little cracker or something. You didn't put anything in your mouth, including your fingers. And most kids, could stick their thumb in their mouth or a pacifier, or you never had a pacifier. So you went through a period where you wouldn't put anything in your mouth except a bottle.
Well,
And
there's
at that point, we didn't even know what
yeah,
we were to feed you because they hadn't given us those instructions, like when you had eaten and all those things. So eventually you did stop, and I think you kind of fell asleep. We took you back to the hotel, and she was good. We took you to dinner, and you didn't cry after that at all. And I remember we put you to, I think we gave you a bath. I went in the bathtub with you and took a bath with you, and you were quite happy. And then we put you to bed, and I remember we went to sleep, and I woke up. You had a little crib next to our bed, and I looked at you because I was worried, like, I don't know, maybe. And I looked at you, and you looked at me, and you just gave me this like little smile, and I knew like it was all good.
Yeah, it just has a happy
And it was,
vibe to me. I don't remember anybody, like a lot of the comments on your other video are give them a crack or give them something to eat, and I don't remember anybody giving any kids anything to eat. Because you didn't know the food was very difficult. Even there wasn't a lot of guidance around formula. Like you kind of had to wean.
yeah,
We had to buy Chinese formula because that's what a kid would be used to. You couldn't just
right.
give them like American formula. It would could make a kid sick.
I
It
think
certainly wasn't
some
like here,
kids,
have
some parents, at dinner you would like offer the kids some rice or something, and a lot of kids took it. But Scarlett wouldn't take food. But I think some people, I mean, we gave Sadie crackers.
wasn't that back in the
No,
that was in the initial room. I remember we're talking about your sister now at this point, but I remember being so shocked that, oh my gosh, she took the Ritz bit because she was eating. You didn't eat solid food until you were two and a half or something.
And people always said to me when you were crying, give her a cookie. It's like, hello, you give her a cookie. See what she does. Because you want to eat. You don't know where that came from or what, but it was something that we had to work through, and then you finally did eat.
King and queen of nutrition over here with the Ritz bits and the M&Ms and yogurt, was it that you?
But once we went through all the paperwork, then we basically just spent the days with you, taking you to the park, the zoo, and it was such a pleasant, and I didn't have work to deal with, or so it was one of the most enjoyable vacations of my entire life because we were in China. We didn't have cell phone. They didn't, back then we couldn't get phone calls. We didn't have email. So we were just really focused on you. And it was just Daddy, I, and you. And it was such an enjoyable, pleasant, and I think by the time we left, we had all fallen very much in love. You were very happy. Then we got home. The flight was fine. We put you in the car seat. And then, oh my God, it's a whole nother.
That's another video. For the record, we were at the Dongfang, I'm not sure how you would pronounce it, hotel. The second trip, we were at the White Swan, which is the famous, and that's in the old colonial part of Guangzhou. But the Dongfang was a modern business hotel. It was right across big major street from like a trade convention thing where they'd have huge business meetings and like exhibits kinds of things. And maybe that's what the hotel was for. But it was also right next to this amazing park. Yeah. Like a city park, like Central Park with huge the White House, I think is what it was. There was something in it called the White House, which is kind of odd coincidence. Played mahjong and the Tai Chi in the morning, and there were the swan boats, the pedal, like lots of them. And didn't remember we said it felt not that we would know, but you said I think it was like LA in the 50s or something, like people walking around partly because people would wear suits and like more formal clothes, and it was lovely. It was March, so it's tropical there, but it was beautiful temperature. One when we were there in September with Sadie, I remember it being really, really hot and humid.
But everyone was so kind and nice, and like I went kind of with like the military, and it was just everyone seemed happy and peaceful and safe. The food was amazing. It was just a really wonderful experience.